Okay, so this client is a IT consulting firm that actually has a pretty unique request because they're looking for virtual co-working space, which obviously we don't fulfill with lease space, but there's different things that we do for that to solve that issue. But then there's also a conference area that they use. So it's kind of a multi-use center where there's a large open space that might be used for various different training sessions and conferences. So you're going to have, maybe 2 to 4,000 square feet of space that needs to be used for a myriad of different um, uses. It's all office uses, but the layout will be different. So what we're traditionally thinking about is just a simple box that will be optimal. But of course, most places aren't built out that way. So we want to find first what's going to be the best value play in a very centralized part of the market for this client, and kind of go from there. Let's see what build out options are available and if we can make a good fit. So first place we want to start is, if we're looking central, I don't like downtown for this type of use, but I do like midtown for some of their creative spaces. So first thing we're going to do is look in the midtown area. And I've already gotten all the office spaces, let's say from 2 to 4,000 square feet. And it's going to be from 15 bucks at this bottom to as high as it goes for a ceiling. So let's do Midtown. I'm just going to go around Kirby here just to make sure we're comprehensive and broad. I'm going to exclude downtown. I'll include I-10 just in case. All right, so lots of properties here to choose from. Instead of clicking on each one, I'm just going to go on this side here. It makes it easier. Norfolk Tower, that's technically, I kind of almost consider that Greenway Plaza or close to it. But this property here, it's a solid property. It's got some parking issues, in my opinion. The parking garage gets pretty tight, but it's a well-maintained property, and the price point is, uh, it's in line with what you want. Let me make sure that it's not a triple net lease now. It's probably gross, and it's still gross. They still kept it to a gross lease format. Greenberg building, I just don't think has the curb appeal there. These office suites, that's just not applicable for what your use is. These historic spaces are nice and it is renovated too, but I don't think it's going to fit your use because you want something creative and open. These older designs typically don't lend themselves to making that an easy transition. Same thing with these properties here. You can just tell by the curb appeal, it's not going to really work for what you want. This building by Colliers might be a possibility, and it's on 59 past Museum District here. So let's go ahead and include this as a possibility. Let me make sure that it's not a triple net lease. Okay, it's full service. So that's in the zone of what you're looking for. Okay, Wall Drive, it looks like a sublease here. This may be something that we want to look at as well. It may be, there may be triple net buildings here, but let's see. It's full service. So this is something I do like the curb appeal. Let me put that on. I kind of went past that pretty quick. This property here, I think has some potential. I want you to drive by and see it. And once you take a look at it, then let me know what you think. And if we want to talk deeper, we can absolutely do that. But I do want you to consider it. So I'm going to check it. 3000 Richmond is a property that I've always liked. And the ones next to it, as far as value plays, they have gone up in rent recently. That I'm not so happy with because it's older. The curb appeal is not that great. You could tell that it's dated with the design. The tenant mix is very stable. It's a clean, quiet building. They just replaced the AC units over here recently. So for conference uses, it's not a bad option. But let's go ahead and put that on the list as well. These curb appeal, I just don't think these will work. The parking is going to be prohibitive in all these spaces here, especially on Main Street. This is a medical office space that won't work either. Now this is a creative loft. This will be fine if the parking is not too bad, and the rent rate's very high here at 38 bucks a foot, based on the options that we wanted to look at. So I would say no to this because the rent rate's prohibitive, and I just don't see the parking potential here, where it's located, not for some of the people you may want. 2990 Richmond is a property that I do like as well. Um, this just shows you how much the market has changed. I remember just a few years ago, the rents here were 14 bucks a foot, and I'm talking 2, 3 years ago. And lots changed. They're asking for 22. Once we start talking to them, I've done a few deals here. Let's see where we end up. But pretty interesting. That looks like a sublease here. Now let's see if this is a triple net building. I like the curb appeal on this one. Okay, this is a modified gross full. This is a gross lease for these properties here, and these are drawings. So let's see. We do want to get more information. If the curb appeal works and the parking works, this definitely might be something you want to consider. The curb appeal is not going to work, and the parking is not going to work there. Same with that one. That one's not going to work with parking. Okay, the rest of these properties, parking is prohibitive. And if we need to go into detail on this, just call me and we'll talk about it. I know because I've been in these buildings. I know it's not going to work because I've been there. So the rest of these here, yeah, I mean, there's 5 out of this list that I think would be a possibility on this part of the market. So this is the Midtown, and actually, let's see if we scoot it up to the Heights. I'm just going to expand my boundaries here to get the Heights market. And there's just a few other properties here. At 35 bucks a foot, I would say no, and it still looks like it's under development. This one here at 28 bucks a foot, the curb appeal just doesn't look there. You know, it's in the Heights, and that's great, but it's the curb appeal is not there. This is probably, let's see, this one may not be a bad option to include. The curb appeal is there, and if it's still a gross rental rate, then it's very competitive. Let's see if this is a gross or this is full service. I would include this as well as a good option. Great curb appeal, sufficient parking. 1445 is another property that I do like, and I think that it's been well maintained. The Class C properties are creeping up here. Uh, you know, they're trying to push up to 16, 17 bucks a foot. I don't think that the community is really accepting those rates. But obviously some people are. They're getting enough traction to raise rates to feel comfortable doing it. This property had substantial renovations over the last year or two, so there's pressure to do that. I'm not surprised by the price increase, but I do think there's some flexibility in all of these properties. Once you find something you want to settle in on, our leverage has to come from options, not from being sold on a building and just basically asking them to give us a better deal. You're in a better position if you get these guys competing against each other for your business. So the best leverage in any negotiation is your ability to be able to walk away. And if you have that, you're in a good position. Preserve has been a really funny building in this part of the market. As you can see here, it's covered by wood and woods. It's covered by wood. It's covered by trees. They actually have ducks and ponds there. Pretty interesting. The tenant mix is pretty solid. It's kind of eclectic in a way, and very hard to find as well. You have to kind of know where you're going. So for conference use, I would say no because it's very tough to find this place. But once you get in there, it's great. You have a lot of tenants here. The rental rate's going to be competitive. I do like the flexibility that Hartman offers on certain things with deals here. So, I mean, if you're interested because of the price point and the potential flexibility for what you want to do, I'd recommend that we add this to the list. Okay, so that's the Heights. We did Midtown, and coincidentally, this is half of the 610 North market. Let me get the rest of the 610 market really quick, because I told you that some of the best values that I've seen on the 610 market. I really like these areas for they have a lot of gross buildings. When I say gross, I'm talking about full service leases as opposed to triple net leases. Brook Hollow 2, the Exxon complex is right over here, or one of the Exxon complexes. So, but I don't like the traffic on 290, but it's very accessible. So we shouldn't get that twisted that the curb appeal is just not there, and the price reflects that. But it's very secure, and you have a lot of very prestigious tenants. I think people will know exactly what you're talking about. So we'll go ahead and put that in there for option's sake. Brook Hollow Central, same thing. They renovated these buildings recently. I'm very impressed with the finished product here. And this is a full service building as well. So I would include this as in your price point, and there should be plenty of open space there to lease out. We have to include this is Brook Hollow. It's just another Brook Hollow building. Pine Hollow Office Park. They should have the. This is a nice building. You can't see the picture, but that might be a sublease or something. We need to go ahead. Let's include this. I've been in this building several times. AT&T, I think it's in this building still. So I would check this one out. I think it's a great potential conference center, as well as this one. So I usually don't click on things without pictures, but I know those properties. This one has an interesting history where the rent rates in the last year or two, I mean, it's gone up from, it was at 13, 14 bucks a foot. In about a year or two, it's gone up to 18 now. The tenant mix there, it's variable, it's mixed. So you have a lot of people going in and out, but that's with every box of property. You're going to have a lot of short-term tenants. The building itself is very nice. It's a beautiful building, beautiful views here. It's one of the few buildings where you can actually see the Galleria in downtown from the same shots in these higher floors. So it's a really cool building and very nice curb appeal. Parking somewhat limited, but sufficient for what you want. I wouldn't discount it for that. And I think they'd be flexible on the terms if there's space available. And that changes so much. We'd have to really move quickly if we thought this was an option you wanted to consider. The Preserve, this is the property we discussed before. So I think we've already kind of touched this one already, so I'm not going to hit it twice. Yeah, it looks like a sublease, so we're going to pass that one. And that's more of the preserve shots here. And the physician center, that's not a fit for us. It's a medical use. Okay, so those are the options in that area. Okay, so we covered Midtown, the Heights, 610 North. Now let's do City Center and Greenway Plaza. So if we look on I-10, and just for the sake of capturing everything, I'm going to go ahead and just go from the Beltway here all the way across to see what's on I-10 that may be of interest. Well, this atrium definitely has a nice curb appeal to it. It's kind of out there though. I mean, I wouldn't consider it just because it's so close to the Beltway. I mean, there's so many other options you can get for this price point that are so much more convenient. I just don't see the reason to go that far out. I'd have to make the same argument for this property, for these properties here, is why pay this amount of money to be just smack dab in the middle of the Beltway and 610 when you can be right on a major artery. So yeah, I mean I just don't see those making sense. I like 701 North Post Oak though. This is one of the best values to me, and they're very smart. They renovated the building, they priced it attractively, and they keep it up. They have a great tenant mix. It's always full, and I think that smart tenants that value the dollar lease in buildings like this, and there are a few others in this market. If we need to dig in deeper, I'll show you, but I like 701 North Post Oak for that reason. Let's see, the last place we wanted to look was Greenway Plaza. So we're going to take a look and head on down to 59 South. Let's see what we get here. Well, not too south. So Greenway Plaza is going to be between 610 and the downtown area. So if I go ahead and do a quick search in this part of the market. Now I kind of went past Greenway, so let me go ahead and take it back some. Now, there's a lot of properties here. That's not going to work. That's going to be a parking problem, parking issue, parking issue, parking issue, and not stable tenants. Norfolk, I think we talked about Norfolk already as an option. If we haven't, I will click that again. Yes, we already talked about Kirby. All right, so we hit some of these already. Okay, so I think we should look at this one too, because this is a very nice building. I happen to like this. I think you should take a look at it. It's going to be on the higher end, but it's always good to compare a few of those so you can see which ones are going to be somewhat attractive. What's going to draw your attention? Okay, so we've taken a look on the office side of what to expect. Now, I want to get your feedback on this. I know that you're considering office, industrial, and retail in these markets. Now, when we talked about the differences between the office and industrial properties, the first thing I'll tell you is that office space is going to offer you superior parking to industrial parks. Of course, the industrial parks are, for now, they're coming up in rent quite substantially, but they are more economical as far as price point. But the parking won't work in many cases, and you really don't want to have 18 wheelers and people storing bread next to what you're doing. I mean, you know, you have a professional business, and it really is the best fit unless you're in an office park with an office showroom. And many times the rent rate there may be comparable to an office. So, with that being said, I would suggest that you look at these options first because there's 19 very, very competitive options in the market we can take a look at. And as far as retail is concerned, that's the flip side. There's great parking for some of these spaces, but it's much, much more expensive. I would not recommend that you push for a retail spot for your use unless you benefit from impulse traffic. If you're looking in these markets for retail, you're going to pay sometimes almost twice as much money, very close to twice as much. And I would challenge you, what are you gaining for that extra money? That spending on a 5-year lease, you may be spending an extra 150 to $200,000 on a 5-year lease for that extra presence, but you have no impulse traffic with your business. Everyone that's going to you is a destination location. They know they're going, they know their address, so you really don't need to pay that premium. So I would urge you before you really dug into and fell in love with the retail option in some of the hottest markets in Houston, before you want to pay that price, see if you like these. And if these work for you, let's go with it. If they don't and you want to look at retail and industrial, I'd be more than happy to pull those up and do the same things here. Well, take a look, and I look forward to talking to you soon.